I'm going to vote for the United Australia Party. They've got a great candidate here, and I'm going to give you my support. And I'm going to put one for the United Australia Party in the House of Reps and also in the Senate.
Absolutely.
That is my call and my plea to you. Over the next 10 days, please say that to as many people as you possibly can. Because we can do this.
We will.
We can do it, and we can get
Absolutely.
the balance of power. We can win a couple of
Eons
seats.
of us.
There's so many undecided
Around the
voters.
whole country and around the
We can
states.
seats in the lower house to get the balance of power.
And we need cash
We can
around
get
for
seats in the upper
1,000
house
years.
with the balance of
We
power.
open up
I'll
the
tell you
banks
what,
in small towns.
We will wield that power ruthlessly. We will be taking no prisoners. We'll be making sure the interests of this nation is put first.
And the Bring Back of and the Yalta Long connection to Broken Hill too.
These people have very little
passenger
publicity nationally. If we
rail
can get
too.
some of these people elected, they will make that country proud. They'll make your region proud. So
Absolutely.
that's my call to you over the next 10 days, because there's nothing left of the future of our nation.
We're sleeping.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so ladies and gents, what do you think? Could he be Australia's next Prime Minister?
Yes, he should.
These are the other two jokers we've got. Now the questions come from the floor, and we'll go down the left side. Anyone on this side have a question for Craig? Mick Calipari? No questions. Andy, you gave us $50.
No, I'm
I might start and ask some questions that come up. Preferences. People say, what are you learning the preferences, right? Now, this is one of the great tricks that they try and deploy upon us,
Absolutely.
to try and attack us. First, you remember what allocating a preference does. All it means is if your candidate that you vote number one for gets knocked out and doesn't come last or second last or third last, gets knocked out, instead of your vote being knocked out, you get a second chance to be voted. So in the Senate, we have done better than what we promised to do. In the Senate, you must number six above the line. Now what we've done similar in every state here. Of course, the United Australia Party won. Liberal Democrats number 2. The Informed Medical Options Party, IMOP, number 3. Pauline Hanson's One Nation, number 4. The Australian Federation, number 5. And the Australian Voting Party, number 6. No preferences for Liberal, Labor, Nationals or Greens. None.
Nothing. Not at all. Get rid of them all. Sack them.
And it's the Senate where the flow of preferences count. Because those 5th and 6th Senate positions in each state, remember we've got 6 senators in each state, the 5th and 6th Senate positions are really up for grabs. So where the preferences flow in the Senate is absolutely crucial, and we are giving nothing to the major parties. Now in the lower house, the reality of life is, because you must number every square, that you've got to put either Labor ahead of the Liberals or Nationals, or the Liberals ahead of the Labor Party. That is the reality of life. Now in Western Australia, where the Liberal Party have decided that they are going to preference the Labor Party everywhere in that state ahead of us. They are no longer the opposition in Western Australia. They have decided that they would rather a Labor senator go and sit in the chamber than a United Australia Party senator. That is how the Liberal Party have collapsed their values in Western Australia. So in Western Australia, we are putting the sitting member last in every single seat.
Yeah.
Now that hurts me personally. The guys over there, Ken White. Ken's a good friend of mine. We both got elected in 2010. He's a lovely gentleman. But I've got to face him and look him in the eye and say, mate, I'm sorry. We put you last. That's going to cost you your seat. That hurts me personally. But that's the commitment that we made as a party. That where the parties did the wrong thing by us, that we would put the sitting member last. And that is exactly what we are doing in Western Australia. Now, in the other states, we've looked at it on a seat-by-seat basis. We've given someone like Lou O'Brien that actually crossed the floor and sat next to me against his colleagues and voted with me. Lou gets number 2 up in the seat of Wide Bay, because he supported me. But the other seats, again, we've done a case-by-case basis. In the seat of North Sydney, where the Liberal, the Green Left Liberal Trent Zimmerman, put us last, we're putting him last. Right? That's, we're not gonna cop that. He puts us last. In every other seat, we've looked at the candidates individually, and we've decided, especially here in Victoria, yes, there's probably more votes going to the Liberals and Nationals than there are for Labor Party. And that's because we're not going to give our preferences to someone that Dan Andrews backs.
Yeah.
He's the greatest villain. He's the greatest villain in the
It
world.
is, and he's also a dictator. And he's also a dictator too.
You preference the Liberals over the Labor Party in all these seats in Victoria. Yes, we have, because we're not going to get any more Dan Andrew acolytes into that federal parliament, and they're certainly not getting our preferences.
Destroy Dan Andrews. Destroy
The
him.
seat of Scott Morrison,
Destroy Dan
he is
Andrews.
last. In Anthony Albanese seat of Greenville, he is last. In Adam Band's seat of Queensland, he is last.
Absolutely.
So we've missed it. So we've done that on a seat-by-seat basis. So please don't listen to this nonsense that somehow there's some secret deal that we've done. You can see it by the preferences we've done. Preferences that I'm preferencing against good personal friends of mine. But that's what we need to do. Stand up.
Absolutely. All of us will stand up.
Yes.
I have a question from Lisa, who says, can you ask if they will sign Australia up to the control of the WHO in 2 weeks' time?
Yes. Yes. This is what is planned.
What?
If we, the plan is that the World Health Organization, that Tedros carried up, an Ethiopian Marxists controlled by the Chinese. Right? You wouldn't let this bloke, you wouldn't let him take the lunch orders down for the workers for the day. He's running the show, the World Health Organization. We are meant to sell our sovereignty out over what we do and hand the powers to him. Are you kidding me? That is what both the Labor and Liberal Party want to do. So there is no way, as long as there is life or breath left in our party, that we will allow that to happen. We will fight every single day to stop that. It's bad enough that we've had groups like the TGA and these other hopeless bureaucrats involved in our decision.
They're not
But to hand those power over to some unelected UN bureaucracy, no way are we going to allow it. No way. Yes, I'm back.
Yeah, there's just one thing, being on the pre-polling booth, there's been, and on social media, there's been things that have been coming out against Clive. And I just wonder if you might be able to give an indication of how we can do it. The thing is, when people have been saying, Clive didn't pay his workers.
Oh, bullshit.
Okay,
I know it is, but it'd be just really nice to have what we're going to respond to that when we get a chance.
That's what we hear from the unions now. But just go to the fact that this is the large nickel processing plant up in Townsville.
You go to $50,000 cars.
That's right. That's exactly right. So the history of that was that it was a BHP owned it, and BHP were going to close it down and sack everyone. Clive came in as the white knight and put hundreds of millions of bought off BHP and put hundreds of millions of dollars of capital into that business to keep those thousands of workers in it. And they all stayed employed for 7 years. And you're right, he gave them cars.
Beautiful.
Right?
$50,000.
That's right. He sent all the staff on overseas holidays with their family. And then the price of nickel collapsed. And the plant was losing $200 million a year. And like a response, when that happens, you need to put the business into administration. And that's what Clive did, thinking the administrators would do the right thing. Those administrators took $90 million of cash out of that business in just their own management. They sold everything off. And what they did, they relied on the government guarantee when a company goes into administration to pay the workers out. They had the money there to do so, but they wanted to keep that for themselves instead of paying the workers and got the government to pay. As soon as Clive got organised, he came back, he brought the administrators out, kicked them out, paid back the government's money that had paid the money, made sure every single person was paid every single dollar in full. That nickel plant today has a workforce of 60 maintenance. There's a big, it's almost ready to reopen. That will employ thousands of workers. He's trying to get the announcement through before the election. It might be a bit tight for time, the idea that he didn't pay his workers is absolute nonsense. Everyone that I've had the pleasure with over the last sort of 6-7 months works for Clive says that he is a wonderful employer. But say the loyalty that you give him, he gives you the loyalty back. So this is complete nonsense. The other thing too, we need in our federal parliament experienced business people. And we don't.
Support small businesses.
Josh Frydenberg's my good mate. But Josh has got no experience in running business. He went to the university, became a political staffer, very good salesman for himself, and all of a sudden he's treasurer running the show. And on the Labor side, you've got that Chalmers bloke. His claim to fame was Wayne Swan's apprentice. Now on our side, you've got one of the most successful businessmen in the country over a long period of time in many different industries, and that's what's important. You often see people successful in business in one industry, and good luck to them, but they think they know everything. Clive's done across the whole spectrum of different industries. He understands international trade. He knows how to deal tough with the Chinese.
That's great.
In New South Wales, our number one Senate candidate was a guy called Dominic Martino. He was the managing director of Deloitte's accountancy firm. So the economic experience that we have, it is chalk and cheese. We should be absolutely ecstatic that someone like Mr. Palmer is prepared to put his hand up to go into that federal parliament and do it for the benefit of the nation. And so, could you imagine like someone coming up and saying, "Oh, we can offer you a brown paper bag of cash" or something like that? The man is so successful; he is beyond. That makes him beyond reproach.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly correct. So our team, and if you go across all the rest of our team, the industry and life experience that our people have had just makes it is chalk and cheese in comparison. Yes.
Can you remind me who Scott Morrison swore his allegiance to? Yes. Can you please remind me?
Yeah, good question.
Okay.
Good question. I'll tell you, I remember when Scott's, he's in the neighbouring electorate. So it's been very distant what he's done. And I remember one thing that upset me the most about what he did when he stood there and said, "We're against the vaccine mandates." And you see he had his fingers crossed behind his back. Right? He was absolutely all for them. He was encouraging the state governments to put them in. He was backing them up 100% and saying exactly the opposite to the Australian public. He was playing a double game of duplicity. Now, when someone does that, I'm sorry, they've lost my trust. They've lost my confidence.
You didn't answer my question.
Oh, wait.
Who did he swear his allegiance to? Scott Morrison.
When he first, the last parliament,
Yeah, when he put his hand on the book, he swore his allegiance to. Who was it? The Queen of? Remind me.
Toy.
when in Australia.
That's right, thank you.
Manifesting, actually. Not even
It doesn't matter, the bottom line is we've got a duo system here. A fictitious one and
And your loyalty should be to the people of Australia.
Yeah.
You've got the loyalty to the electorate that puts you there, and you've also got a loyalty to the party, but ultimately, your loyalty is to the people of Australia. And you've got to do that and exercise your conscience. There are times that you may have to go and say, well, you know what, I'm going to do something that's not popular. Because I believe it's right and the long term show that I'm agreeing. That is Mr. Morrison's greatest fault, that he does everything for tomorrow's popularity, rather than one sticking by his principles and sticking by those little values, which he had. This election could have been so much different. If he had taken the path of Ron DeSantis in Florida, that was the template that he could have followed. He would have been able to stand up and slay Albanese every single day. But instead, it was short-term popularity, and now it's Brett Scott. Yes.
The National Cabinet,
Yes.
theoretically, is a non-legal entity for
Yes.
laws and bits and pieces like that.
Yes.
What's your point of view and what would you do?
We'll scrap the National Cabinet. You'll see that in the speech that I did at Coolum, which will go to the air. It should have never been instituted. It was a way that Morrison set up so he could take the credit for stuff and not take the ultimate responsibility. He should have stood up to these state governments. He should have stood up to Dan Andrews. He should have stood up to them. Like when Dan Andrews was doing all those lockdowns, we had the marches down in Melbourne, and and the protest down in Melbourne.
20th
He should
November.
have stood up against what Dan Andrews was doing. When Palaszczuk closed the borders down between New South Wales and Queensland, when you saw those sad, pathetic photographs of those orange dividers, and people from Queensland and New South Wales leaning over, kissing each other across the border on Father's Day, Mother's Day, or something, some scene you would expect to see out of some Eastern Bloc country. He should have taken Palaszczuk on, but he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. That's exactly right. You can't go in politics. Like I went to Perth the other day.
It's got no balls, is what it's saying.
I went to Perth the other day. McGowan, Morrison goes to, McGowan, look, you polish your boots. I went down there and said, Mark McGowan is a human rights abuser. He is forcing people to get injected 3 times, and that is abuse of human rights. That's what sticking up had done. That's what Prime Minister Morrison should have done. He's too timid, too frightened, and now we've seen the poll in the paper this morning. It looks like he's heading quite a significant improvement. Yep.
I have a question that's sort of roundabout. Back before the mandates and the Pfizer story came in, somebody had to know that all of the vaccines were in fact a bogus vaccine.
Yeah, he would have
They
known
weren't
that.
really designed to do anything more than create damage.
Well, how much she got
Now,
paid?
the people on the inside would have been very much aware that this was basically a major problem. Now, we've got probably, 3/4 of the members of parliament have probably privately been investing in these drug companies or vaccination companies. And that's possibly why they were quite happy to push and push and push, because they were making profit out of every single needle given. Now, my question is, what would this party do to clear up the conspiracy,
We
or
said-
to make money?
We should have a Royal Commission to this. There must be an investigation.
Yeah.
But these people are brushing those
With
aside.
these people under oath. The other thing we need to do is, you've got to end this revolving door of politics and the lobbyists. I'll leave it there. You watch how many politicians over these couple of years end up on the boards of these big pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly.
They've given all these guarantees and these big payments too. There'll be so many that will end up on these boards of these companies. They'll pick up a couple of $100,000 a year just to turn up to a few meetings. And what that also does, that then sends the message to the ministers of the day, well, if I get out of politics, what do? Well, you can go and become a board of one of these big companies. You're given all the advantages to. You've got to break that thing. So if you're a minister, you can't go, there should be like at least a decade where you can't go and work in that same field where you're making decisions that involve hundreds of millions of dollars of financial. That's what makes it break. You've also got to break the lobbyist mold. So what happens in both the major Liberal and Labor parties? They have political lobbyists that control who gets pre-selected. So if you want to be pre-selected as a Liberal candidate, you've got to swear allegiance to these factional bosses and these lobbyists that you will vote as you were told, otherwise they will pre-select you. Now these lobbyists are all political advisors for all these big companies. So they're all so they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. They have a standing contract with these large companies, paying these lobbyists. So if they have any political issue, they know that the lobbyists can go straight to the politicians and say, this is how you can vote. We've got to break that nexus as well. That's why having a third party in the middle or to the side, like the United Australia Party, is so important. Now I know there are several Labor members of Parliament that think a little bit like I do, that could come and join us in future years. Now if they've got that option there, when the Labor Party comes and puts pressure on them, they can say, well, you know what? I'm going to go and get stuff. I'm going to go and join the United Australia Party. The same on the Liberal side of politics. There are many politicians there that would gladly come across and join us if we're successful. And so when the pressure would come onto them, they would say, well, you've got to shut up. We need you to shut up because you're harming our factional interests. He said, well, go and get stuffed. I'm going to go and I can now have the option of going to join the United Australia Party, and I'm going to win and get elected as a member
Absolutely.
That's the thing
Yes,
that
absolutely.
break down, the power of the big corporations over the political scene.
Actually, the question I was actually looking for, an answer to was more so, can you guarantee that if you actually are looking at, especially at these supposed investors, who are already parliamentarians, is there a way of making every single aspect of this last 2 years transparent? Because that's what we need to do. We need to actually say, you're no longer a
Yes.
parliamentarian, you are actually a crook working for someone else.
That's a very good corruption problem, that specific raw commissions. I'm not saying one, I think you need several to target different areas. To bring all these contracts need to be, all the written clauses should not be redacted. The idea that says commercial redacted, no, they should all be exposed.
Yeah.
We saw the Pfizer contract, now we know why they want to hide it for 75 years, because it's so damning what they've done. So it's a good question.
We really need our small banks back in the town.
Look, raw commissions are not the be all and the end all. Combination of that, a federal ICAC can have special commissions of inquiry, but you've got to be able to bring these bureaucrats and these politicians in front of some judicial process where they are questioned under oath, right, by experienced QCs and experienced barristers to find out what they knew, when they knew it, what financial ties that they had. There's no other, we've still got to have a legal system that has the benefit of innocence before guilt, innocence before proof. So you still have a judicial process that you go through. But I would like to see some of the explanations, because none of this makes sense. When you look what was done, everything was wrong from the first place. The contracts that have been given out on masks, the contracts that were given out on so many other drugs, that molnupiravir, which was a $300 million deal. The idea that Greg Hunt put $150 million booster doses. That's 6 booster doses for a man from the job. All signed up, locked in, paid for, all borrowed money. And now, now he's out of politics. I wonder where he might end up.
With the Royal Commissions and stuff like that, people saying for the media basically have shut if we didn't get it, or trying to. The real information is coming out from London. With the heads of our media, our medical, our police, the whole lot, these people, as far as I'm concerned, should be in jail.
Yes.
Again, how much of a Royal Commission and how to be because there are people going to court and the judges are turning around and saying we can't do X, Y, Z. For instance, I've got because we don't have a Bill of Rights. Well, I believe the
Sorry to interrupt. That's actually one of our policies. We're going to have I was always of a belief that our Constitution protected a lot of our freedoms, and we were unique as a country that didn't need a Bill of Rights. We don't have a specific Bill of Rights.
we signed up to the Bill of Rights.
No, we don't have there's acts called Bill of Rights acts, but a specific Bill of Rights like they have in the United States of America, and also New Zealand to some extent, we don't have here in Australia. So there's nothing in our laws that would guarantee freedom of speech. They say there's an implied right. The last 2 years have shown that we need a Bill of Rights in this country. We've got to put it as an annexure to the Constitution. So they're crystal clear black and white. The way we'll do that, if successful, we'll have a constitutional convention. We'll get some of the best legal minds in the country that are all people like Dr. Augusto Zimmerman. I met in Perth the other day. Brilliant scholar, brilliant legal mind, brilliant constitutional legal. Let's have a constitutional convention. Let's get those terms of how the Bill of Rights should be written. Take it to the Australian people in a referendum, so we get the majority of the states and the majority of the population, and get those enshrined in the Constitution. Now, I don't know if the word is correct, but when it comes to freedom of speech, the simple principle should be: if it's lawful to say in the town square, on a soapbox in the town square on a Saturday afternoon, it should be unlawful for these overseas tech giants to censor it. So you have actually protections, defamation is one of the protections, incitement to cause violence against others, that's a protection, that's something you can't say in the town square. But if I say there's a medical study that's been done in South America that shows ivermectin used as a prophylaxis can stop you from getting COVID, here's the details. I can say that on the town square. If YouTube or Facebook want to censor it, they should be fined for it.
Yes.
Now, there's YouTube have censored the proceedings of the Australian Parliament. There's speeches that George Christensen and myself have made on the floor in the House of the Australian Parliament, and someone in a foreign country has sat there and looked at what we said and said, no, we don't like that, that will be censored, that cannot. And they censored it and blocked it from our platforms, so we can't distribute that information to the Australian Parliament. That's got to stop.
But could we sue the World Economic Forum and stop what they're doing somehow?
On that, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
So we can hold Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, hopefully now with different Musk is taken over. We can hold them accountable. We can put fines on them, country fines. We can enforce that they cannot block political speech in this country because they're effectively interfering in the Australian election campaign. This is foreign interference. I can't have a Facebook. So I'm the leader of the largest party in Australia, trying to put our ideas out, and I can't have a Facebook page to get the ideas out because I've been banned from Facebook. Because they said I spread misinformation. And they won't even say what it is I said is wrong, to give me the chance to argue about it. So we've got to make these people accountable. And when it comes to the World Economic Forum, yeah. Oh, okay, thank you. This is why it's so important that we get our nation's finances fixed.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important that we work out a way that we don't have $1 trillion worth of debt. So by setting out this export license fee and all, it allows us basically to take that $1 trillion worth of debt off the books and say, here's how we're going to pay for it. So we're no longer a nation that's hopelessly indebted to the rest of the world. Right? We've got to make sure that we are doing so that the money, the capital, we're not relying on foreign capital. That's why we've got to have a restriction on our superannuation savings. If you want the tax deduction, you've got to invest it here in Australia. If you want to go and invest in Bolivia or Botswana and it's your money, go for your life, right? But if you want the tax deduction on it, you've got to invest some here in Australia. So we're not reliant on foreign capital from overseas. We're not relying on so many foreign companies. That's the best way that we can tell the World Economic Forum, like Klaus Schwab is mates to go and get stuff.
Yes.
I'd like to meet Klaus.
More than get stuff.
I would like to meet Klaus and say, mate, I says, you've missed your calling in life, right? I reckon I can get you into the movies as a villain in the James Bond series. You will be the best villain, Dr. No, Dr. Evil, all these other people. You will be the best. I'll get you a contract. Forget what you're doing, right? We can't have these people telling us how to run our country.
Yeah, I've just got a quick one, probably more for Stuart's campaign manager, because I'm from 20 minutes that way in Farrer, and these will circulate in the paper to the residents on that side as well. Is there any way of just putting a bit of a footnote, or even just it's not going to be economic to run another entire flyer for
Your candidate is Lewis Ramos's wife, Julie Ramos.
Yep.
Apparently, I think his mother was a French citizen, and he had dual French citizenship.
Yep.
So it transferred to her. So she's your candidate, but see me before you go tonight.
Yep.
And I'll give you her candidate cards, because I've got them in my card.
Yep.
But, ladies and gents.
Is there one last question with that?
Yeah, it's got to go. So,
Mine's not a question, mine is a statement. Thank you, Craig.
Go, Michael.
When I thought I was going mad over the last 2 years, I would call my family and say, hey, come and listen to this federal politician, listen to what he's saying about the TGA, listen to what he's reading out. So we've got to, we've got to support this stuff. We've heard your passion, we've heard your fight, And we've followed Clive for many years as well, so I know what's coming out of your mouth, what's coming out of Clive's is 100% factual, and that's why we're here tonight as a family.
Absolutely.
Before I decided to go with Clive, I want to know what his true motivation was. I sat down across his dining table and discussed it overnight. And those who don't know, Clive's first wife tragically passed away. He's remarried, he's got 2 young girls, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. He said, you know what? So I can give them every material thing that they'll ever want. And their kids and their grandkids will ever want. But I can't give them everything. That got me over the line.
Yeah. He's a genuine pleaser, always.
Yes, he is, yes. So don't let people besmirch him or stand up for him. He's a genuine man that's doing this for the best interest of the country. Like every single person here in the room is. We're not here for ourselves. We're doing it for the future generation of this country.
Okay, we've got Dr. Doug, the best shirt in the house, other than the United Australia Pack shirt. Doug, ask your question.
Craig, I'm just wondering, with world media the way it is, we hear a lot about the American elections, where I'm from, a lot about the fraud. There's people that say, oh, my vote doesn't matter, we're not gonna vote, it doesn't matter what way we vote. Do you have any concerns with the election fraud? Is there what you could consider any fraud in this process?
Our process of counting the votes is much different and much more transparent, much more checks and balances. You saw in America, the ballot boxes were all sent to some central county. And they go, oh, look, there's another ballot box under the table. Where did that come from, right? That's no idea.